Inside the Birds is back. What's up, everybody? Geoff, Mosher, Adam, Caplan. Is it weird to hear our voice just 2 days after a podcast already dropped? Well, it shouldn't be. This is what we do. We are back to our regular season podcast format. That's 3 podcasts a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now, this is a little bit different. Usually our Wednesday podcast, as Adam, you know well, we'll be doing our tape review pod from the game before, after we talk to our sources and get intel. We don't have a game yet. That's going to be on Sunday as the Eagles travel to Detroit to open up their season against the Lions. So we do have some Eagles items we're going to get to, but we're also finally going to take some time, Adam, to go over with you your NFL training camp tour and kind of get everything that you viewed through your eyes on your trek around the country as you finally finished that up about a week and a half ago. And are you refreshed? Are you ready to galvanize for the season now?
Yeah. Look, I saw some of the Eagles opponents, and we'll squeeze in some over-unders talk. I know a lot of people do the futures bets, which are over-unders, so we'll talk about that. We also have a game tomorrow night. The Bills are playing at the Rams. The opener. Can't wait for that game. It's funny, that line is 2.5, but I totally forgot that Tre'Davious White is out, the star corner for the Bills on PUP, because he's come back from ACL reconstruction. So that to me tilts it. So that's something obviously people are interested in. But yeah, I also visited the Rams. But yeah, look, I'm glad that we're back to our normal schedule, and it's always interesting. The other part of what we love, for those of you new to our show, this is something we started doing last year. So we would talk to sources from other teams that would have the Eagles on their schedule, and would ask them, okay, what if you watch Philly's tape, what did you see? And often they did advanced work. We would get, whether they're pro personnel, the general manager, personnel director, coach, whoever it may be, they would say this is what it looked like. And they have no bias because they don't work for the Eagles. This is what we see.
It's best time.
And some of us obviously very critical when the Eagles weren't playing well. We started to get answers about what they saw, and it certainly helped us learn about what the league saw from this football team.
No doubt about it. And now the Lions are an interesting team. We'll get to that more on Friday when we do our game preview podcast. They've made a lot of additions to the team. They obviously have a lot of positive momentum coming out of Hard Knocks there. So we'll see if they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. They already have a big injury that we'll get into in a second. I want to make just a few quick announcements. So like we said, we're back to our normal podcast format, 3 a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you want to catch our sort of training camp recap, our roster recap show that we did with Jason Avant from Fishtown last week, it's available on our podcast and YouTube platforms. On Monday, the 12th, which will be the day after the game, Adam and I will be back on 97.5 The Fanatic to restart ITB Radio on The Fanatic, 6 to 8 p.m. You can listen live, or you can catch it through their website or through their app. And as we've already told you, we are back at Rivers Casino on Sunday and most game days, most Sundays, always all game days, for 10 a.m. till noon. For Eagles Lions, it'll be myself, Adam, Jason Avant, Greg Cosell. So looking forward to restarting that. And now we've been telling people about some other ventures. We're ready to discuss a new venture that we're doing. We've partnered with Patreon.com, which is for those who don't know, Patreon is a service that allows content creators to distribute their content, market it, promote it, go through, and it's a subscription-based platform. So we're partnering with them to give our viewers, our fans, our listeners even more. What we're going to be doing starting this month, pretty soon, and you'll be able to sign up. We'll give you all the information to that. It'll be in the descriptions and the links to on our YouTube channel and our podcast platform, and of course on our social media accounts. But what you will get when you sign up for a Patreon subscription at Inside the Birds is a extra podcast every month. It's just going to be for Patreon subscribers. And what we're going to do, Adam, and I look forward to this monthly show is going to be mostly geared toward like the state of the Eagles at the time. So let's say after the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, we'll do one at the end of this month. It'll be you, me, maybe we'll get some analysts on with us to say, hey, here the Eagles are after 1 month of the season, which is like a quarter of the season, sort of. What's good, what's bad, what do we expect, what didn't we expect, what do they got to do going forward? So it'll be very analytical, X and O inside the birds type stuff, and we'll do that once a month as an extra bonus podcast. And then we're also going to do once a month an interactive show where we answer questions. It'll be like Ask ITB type of live stream at the time. So you can ask us questions and we'll answer it in real live format. There's also going to be a chat community, sort of like our Facebook community group, but through Discord, where Adam and I are going to be talking to people and answering their questions and, just going through Eagles topics. We'll also give away tickets to see our pregame show live and in person. You get to meet ourselves, Greg Cosell, Jason Avant, watch the show, get some signed memorabilia while you're there, and then there'll be other ways to then there'll be other ways to get stuff too. So it's going to be really excited. We look forward to it. It's a way for us to kind of continue to grow inside the birds. Yes, it is a paid subscription per month, but we're going to be doing everything we can to give you as much as possible for becoming a paid subscriber. And that doesn't change, just for anybody who might get worried. We're still going to do our podcasts on Anchor or whatever podcast platform you listen to. Everything inside the birds related will still be on our YouTube channel. This is just something additional that we're giving for people who would like to become Inside the Bird subscribers to Patreon.
Yeah, and on Patreon, the cool thing is, like, because we're going to use Discord, there's no spam. You don't have to worry about people who shouldn't be on there.
Correct.
These are for serious. Are you a diehard smart Eagles fan? You're going to want to get access to this, because you're going to be able to get us and not have to worry about 700 other people who don't understand the game or just casual fans. This is for serious Eagles fans, and we know who you are because you've reached out to us over the last couple of years. So we look forward to corresponding with you through Discord. I've used Discord for different ventures I've been involved with, and it's so great because it's basically, to me, it's like a live message board to me. It's kind of like Twitter, but you don't have all the craziness of it.
That's great. Twitter without the toxicity is a fantastic idea.
I actually like Discord. I've used it last couple of years. You get immediate response. We'll pop in there. We'll be in there. And the cool thing is, instead of having a chat on Twitter where you got so many people, it's just out of your mind. You pull your hair out. With Discord, it's just people who really get it. And that's been my experience with Discord. It's got a funny name, but it's really actually very cool. In fact, I know a lot of people in regular jobs who use it to get immediate responses for questions and so forth. So
cool.
We're definitely looking forward to using it.
All right, that should be awesome. Now I look forward to kind of giving out the prizes. We're gonna have trivia challenges and give people a chance to win Eagles merchandise and autographed memorabilia. So there's a lot of advantages, and there'll be even more once we get to you guys all the information. Again, check out the links will be in the description boxes for both the podcast platform, the YouTube platform, and if you follow us on our Twitter accounts, including @InsideBirds, all the information on how to subscribe to our Patreon account will be there very soon. All right, so looking forward to that, and let's get on with the sort of the news of the day as far as the Lions, the Eagles, some of the things going on. Adam, the Lions have a big injury, and it's to a familiar name for Eagles fans, Halapoulivaati Vaitai, their great right guard, who used to be an Eagle, starting left tackle on the Super Bowl team, was placed on IR.
Yeah, this is interesting because he played in their final preseason game.
Right.
So this would suggest he probably got hurt in practice over the last week.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to miss at least 4 games. And the shame of it for the Lions is that last year, despite the obvious talent level that they had for their starting 5, their starting 5 never played together.
Right.
So one of them was hurt at one particular time. Frank Ragnell missed most of the season.
Yep.
Penei Sewell, by the way, did not play against the Eagles. When the Eagles annihilated the Lions, they were without Ragnall and Sewell. And they have some backups, but they're basically undrafted free agents and unproven. So that game last year, which everyone remembers, when the Eagles destroyed them, it wasn't just the 6 sacks. Sacks are individual plays. When you get up big early, the Lions had to do what they didn't want to do. They were under Anthony Lynn. I think Lynn was still calling the plays then. And we're going to get to another nugget before we get to the rest of the show, which is interesting about the play call of the Lions, which kind of surprised me. But once they got behind, and Jared Goff's not a guy you want to throw the ball a lot.
Right.
It was tee off time. There was constant pressure throughout that game. And we'll see. The Lions, as you said earlier, the Lions are a lot more talented on offense. In fact, the 2 kids who started for them, Khalif Raymond, who's still there, and the other kid is not on their 53. So it's changed with Josh Reynolds, who was claimed off waivers, DJ Chark, Amon-Ra St. Brown was still not a factor in the first half. But the crazy thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown is he led the NFL in receiving yards in the second half. It's like of the season. It's kind of like as soon as they played the Eagles, after that, he became like a star. It's very weird.
That is very weird.
Yeah, it was great for fantasy if you had him. So things have really changed for them. This game should be more competitive. But yeah, so it'll probably be Tommy Kramer, not that Tommy Kramer, the former Vikings quarterback, but Tommy Kramer spells it differently, who's was an undrafted free agent in 21 last year out of Notre Dame, who looks about 40, but he's only like 24 years old. So yeah, you're right, man. That's a big injury. And the Eagles are currently just a 3.5 point favorite, over under 48.5.
Wow, it went down again. It went from 4 to 3.5.
Was it 4?
Huh? It was when we did the
FanDuel.
podcast last. I looked it up and said it was 4.
Wow.
That's interesting. I'm fascinated by this like surge of momentum for the Detroit Lions, who, it's not like they finished strong or they were very competitive last year in their losses, except for the one to the Eagles. We mentioned that a lot, that they were not as bad as their record was. They gave a lot of teams sort of down to the minute games and then would just blow it. But I'm not quite sure what this like surge of momentum is for. It's, some of their offseason additions, for example, they moved up in the draft to get Jameson Williams. He's not going to play.
No,
he's not ready yet.
Mid-season.
Yeah.
They think he'll be back by mid-season, come back from his ACL injury.
Right.
Here, now, see, we'll talk more about this on Friday, but the money lines, I love these numbers, how they come up with it. They're minus 198. The Lions, if you want to take one, the money line, they're plus 166.
Right.
I mean, to me, and I know you have to throw out last year was last year, this year's this year, but the Eagles roster is far superior than the Lions. We'll have more information on Friday morning show. We're going to get some really good matchup notes that we have that we're holding for Friday. But my goodness gracious, I cannot wait to see how the Eagles come out here. Will they spread out the Lions, who are not good? The Lions are really bad at corner. That's their weakest position.
Yeah. This is a big prove it year for Jeffrey Okudah. I mean,
it is.
He's
now
really going to be a player. He's going to have to be this year.
He struggled before he tore his Achilles. Now he had a good training camp. He showed he's back. But man, they're not good. Awarie is a kid, from Penn State who was benched, got his job back. He's there, who's got good size. But boy, I'm so interested because we don't know the answer to this. So we think the Eagles will be somewhat heavy 11 personnel now that Ertz is long gone. We haven't seen it in the regular season yet this year. Now, obviously, Ertz was traded at the trade deadline last year, but they didn't have the personnel that they have now with A.J. Brown in particular. So it's fascinating. This is a fun matchup. And the other thing before we move on here to the second thing we're going to talk about, I can't believe this is the case, but Dan Campbell, you never know with this guy. He actually did say that he hasn't fully decided who's going to call the plays. Like, he took the play calling over from Anthony Lynn last season.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, their OC, who they love, they think he's really smart, or Campbell. Now, I can't imagine I don't. Maybe he's just trying to be secretive, which is his prerogative. Come on, really? Like, we knew, like, for instance, with the Giants, Brian Daboll confirmed what I reported this back in February, that Kafka was going to call the plays. What he wanted to do is go through training camp and the preseason with Mike calling the plays to make sure he was good at it, comfortable. He
Mm-hmm.
was, so he actually officially named him the play caller.
Right.
But the other one, Ben Johnson, I just don't understand. Like, what is Dan Campbell doing? That's kind of weird.
Well, if Dan Campbell decides to call the plays, why do I feel like, 8 of the first 9 Lions plays are going to be like power runs right up the
You're
gut?
right.
That just sounds like something Campbell would want to do. We got to establish the run, devour their kneecaps, hurt them, hit them in the midsection. So I could see that Campbell doing crazy things like that. But yeah, I think the 3-point line is a little favorable. I for the Lions. I don't understand.
Oh,
I'm not saying I think they're going to. I'm saying I think they're being too nice to the Lions. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, being too. I see what you mean.
Yeah,
okay.
I was. I would, if I was setting the line, I would probably put it at. I would probably set it at Eagles 5.5, and I still think I'm being kind. Yeah. All right.
Well, look, you never know about week 1. Week 1's a very weird animal.
Oh, hey, listen, there's nobody who says that more than me, right? The biggest con in all of football is week 1. Didn't the Saints destroy the Packers last year? Didn't in week 1? I'm pretty sure Jameis Winston had like 5 touchdowns against the Packers in week 1 last year. I'll go back and check, but I'm almost positive that there was some crazy score last year that was, everybody got panicked about, and then it wound up being nothing. I'll have to go back and look. I thought it was that. I thought it was the Saints destroying the Packers, but I
there's some weird stuff, because you had talked me off the ledge, because when I said to you, boy, you really got into me on this one. I said to you, oh, wow. I said, Geoff, should we change our opinion of the Eagles? They blew out the Falcons. You go, no, don't do that. I was like, okay.
The biggest con
I
in
got
the
it.
game.
What's that?
It's the biggest con in the game.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, the Saints beat the Packers on September 12th, 2021 by a score of 38-3. Okay. The Packers went on to get the number 1 seed, I think, last year. Weren't they the number 1 seed? 1 or 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blown out. I mean,
the Saints did not even make the playoffs. So that's why I say. And then 2 years ago, I think the Jaguars destroyed somebody who was supposed to be really good.
Oh, and I remember Rex Ryan going to ESPN saying, "Oh, it was the Texans, wasn't it the Texans?
The Texans beat somebody who was supposed to be good."
No, it was the week 1 game where it was either the Jaguars or the Texans. In week 1 of 20. Let me see, because I just remember Rex Ryan boasting that people got it wrong with David Culley.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were terrible.
Wasn't the one I was thinking of. Hold on, I'll tell you what it was. It was
the Texans blew out the Jaguars.
That's what it was. The Texans blew out the Jaguars.
Right. Yeah. And they did look good. And all of a sudden, people were, it was really Rex Ryan. I'm like, Rex with Tyrod Taylor. I'm like, come on, man. Really? It's the Jaguars. Are we serious here?
Maybe it was the Jaguars beating the Colts also 27-20. Were the Colts supposed to be pretty good 2 years ago? Who was their quarter? Who was their quarter? It was Phillip Rivers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and the Jaguars were not. I think that was the big one. The Jaguars beating the Colts also was like the biggest con from week 1. So, like I said, we don't change.
In 2020. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, in fact, that's unbelievable. They wound up losing. Oh my gosh. They won the first game, then lost 15 straight.
Yes. Yeah, the Jags. That's right. Right. So week 1, biggest con in the game, as I like to say.
Wow. All right. I learned my lesson. All
right. Let's get to some of the Eagles news. Obviously, this one seemed weird from the beginning when Anthony Harris agreed to join the Eagles practice squad, because I think you and I both thought somebody would show some kind of interest to him as a backup safety on their 53, but he came back to the Eagles practice squad. Then all of a sudden he's leaving to, I guess, potentially sign with somebody else. He has not, as the time of us recording this, I don't believe he signed with anyone, correct?
Yeah. So the way it works is you can't block anyone from leaving unless it's the practice squad protections. I don't know if they're in this week, week 1, because there's no game, but you could. They always call practice squad players half of a free agent. You can leave.
Right.
and he chose to leave. And Mac McCain is back. So Mac McCain signed on Tuesday. So now they have 2 corners on their practice squad, and they have just 1 safety on the practice squad. So, and they do have a couple injuries. We'll get to that in a second. So Goodrich is a guy that you could have made a case for him to be on the 53. He's on the practice squad with Mac McCain, and Sasha Ray is the only safety on the practice squad. So, you look at that, and because they're CJ Johnson's over there now with Epps as their starters, Blankenship and Kevon Wallace. I mean, they have bodies, but you would love to have more experience in back of the 2 guys who are starting. That to me is something to keep an eye on.
I really don't understand the decision to keep Wallace on the 53 over Sasha, because Sasha, I have felt, is a very good special teams player, and that's what your 4th or 5th safety is going to have to do. So I'm not sure I really understand that decision, unless they plan to elevate Sasha for the first few weeks and use him on special teams, and then make a decision between him or Kevon Wallace after that, or maybe an injury happens. That's the only thinking I can see. But if we're talking about merit and performance, I don't understand why Kevon Wallace is on the 53 and Sasha is not, from a special team standpoint.
Yeah, also, the other issue here is we'll have further updates. It's Wednesday morning; they haven't practiced yet. The Monday practice does not really count to their practice week. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, the week 1 is typically a very late practice, but later today is there. Also, by the way, the first injury report comes out later today, so we're always looking forward to that one. The worst is the surprise guys who show up and they it comes out of nowhere. Like Alan Lazard showed up on the initial Packers injury report, though they didn't have to have one. He wasn't there he wasn't working Monday. So these reporters are like, what's this about? And you hope that doesn't happen. There's a mystery injury. The only ones we were concerned about for the Eagles, not that they would play much at all, is Josiah Scott with the hamstring strain, Josh Jobe with an elbow he's got the protection for it. So we'll see whether they'll be available for special teams and be able to play this week. But other than that, we're expecting everyone else to be ready, because Sanders is working. Barring the setback, he'll be ready to go. We know that Kelsey's ready to go, and that's pretty much it. We should mention the guys who are not available. The guys on IR are Greg Ward with that toe injury, which took him out of training camp. Jared Maiden, Brett Toth, and Tyree Jackson are PUP. Now, the one thing I do want to see if Jackson, who is running well, I did notice it in Miami, he did run without the brace and he ran with the brace in his rehab. So don't know exactly what their plan is after week 4. He's got to miss the first 4 games, but boy, it would be good if he could come back, because he was such a great story of development before he got hurt.
And he's enormous now in a good way. I mean, you and I saw him in Miami, and we thought, man, he looks like a defensive end. I mean, he's jacked up. I mean, he's big.
He did look bigger.
Yeah. So what a target. If you can throw him the ball, 10, 15 yards, watch guys bounce off him like the old Tecmo Bowl game. All right.
Well, you know what's funny about that? It's funny you mentioned this Tyree Jackson, because the issue for him last summer, and we'd mentioned this, he looked like, it didn't look like a rail, wasn't that thin, but he needed to bulk up. That's why I thought, even if he didn't get hurt, we knew he was going to be on the 53. I just didn't know how much he could play, because if you're not strong enough at this level, like, that's the issue with Grant Calcaterra. Yeah, he's athletic and he could run, but I don't know if he's going to be strong enough. See, that's another thing. There's some things we just don't know. And with Calcaterra, he surely could help him as a pass catcher, but you can't just be out there. I think you'd said this last week, and you're right. When he's in the game, you just assume he's going to be out there to catch the football.
Right.
That's a tell to me. So you got to be able to block.
By the way, big thanks to Grant Calcaterra for changing his uniform number. I think he's 81 now, Jason Avant's old number, because the whole 47 thing was not working for a tight end. I was not enjoying that.
Long snapper, linebacker.
Yeah, seriously. You can't be a tight end wearing that number. All right. If you want the very best in CBD, check out our friends freestonefarmscbd.com. If you use the promo code ITB at checkout, you'll get 20% off. Folks, you can't beat the 20% off CBD at freestonefarmscbd.com just by using the promo code ITB. Adam, real quick, I just had this thought into my head. The corners, Tay Gowan and Carrie Vincent, did they ever latch on anywhere?
Yeah, Gowan did. Yeah, Gowan's found a team. Oh,
he found a practice squad, right?
Yes, and Jason Huntley, who the Eagles didn't have interest in bringing back. I know some people were surprised. I think what happened here is we didn't really address this last week, but it's certainly a good time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you noticed that the OD on size, so Trey Sermon size back,
yes,
and rough waivers. Kenny Brooks size back, though he's no juice at all, but he's on their practice squad. He's a grinder.
Mm-hmm.
And LaMichael Pirine size back. No change ups. This to me is a change in philosophy. We'd called for it for a while. I don't know why they didn't do this. It's a little strong, but with all the guys with size, but
it's like they're making up for lost time. It's like, let's get
right.
ready.
They're putting it all together with these three guys. Really. That is funny. Look, game also change up. Scott Nwayes, but yeah, it is definitely a change here. I'm kind of surprised, but long overdue, and we'll see how Sermon does. We outlined from our sources kind of what happened with the Niners, and it never worked there. He never looked good there. So he's, you outlined that game. He had over 300 yards in the the bowl game.
It was the Big Ten championship game against Northwestern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he
had a good Senior Bowl week.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's amazing. They just kept giving him the ball and giving him the ball in the second half. It was crazy.
Didn't he average over 10 yards a carry on like 19 carries?
Yeah, he had 338 yards on 29 carries.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, only the Big Ten, by the way, still does that.
Right, I know. Where's Ron Dane when you need him?
Yeah. Only the Big Ten. Everybody else is throwing the ball around. Yeah, but the Big Ten stays true, man.
I can't even keep up. How many teams are in that conference now?
USC and who's going? USC and
I hate that.
And Cal?
Really
Is it Cal or UCLA? No, UCLA, right? I
haven't even looked.
Yeah, well, those two are going over some point.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's already 13 or 14. There's 14 now. Then there'll be 16.
And they're not going to change the name. They're not going to change it. I love it.
No.
Could be they could have 20 teams. It's still the Big Ten.
Right. And they're all still going to run the ball. Actually, that's what the crazy thing. When USC gets in there, it's like it's going to be such culture shock. Like a team that throws the ball like 80% of the time. What are we doing here? So it'll be very interesting. All right, let's get into your training camp tour. We'll start with the NFC, and I want to start with the division teams first. And I want people to know that when you go, it's not just that you go and watch the practices. You obviously get some good interviews in, and you work your sources there. So you learn a lot about the team, not just through your own eyes, but through the people that you know there. So, and then I'll ask you to sort of compare that to what you saw with the Eagles several times. So let's start with the Giants, because I feel like, they're really trying to get their act together. They obviously drafted Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau, so two really big guys on the lines for them. What do you think about them, Adam?
A lot of negativity just in terms of injuries. They've got a lot of them. It's a new beginning. Now they have Brian Daboll's put together a phenomenal coaching staff. I think that's what's going to help them.
Yeah.
We know we get a lot of Giant fans watching our show, and we appreciate that. In fact, I think their over-under went up a little bit. It's actually 7.5 now. I have no idea why. The FanDuel, they're plus 125 on the over. The under's minus 145. Funny, if they were 7, I would have taken over, or 6.5, but 7.5 is getting a little pricey. Yeah, so I would just say, from talking to them, they like their receiver core, but the problem is Galladay and getting him through. He was very sore in training camp. He was beat up physically last season. He had hip surgery during his last season with the Lions. He's a see it and go get it player. He's on an enormous contract. That was, as Giant fans say, the it's actually funny. I saw this on Twitter, so I'm going to repeat it. I just thought it was hilarious. That was Dave Gettleman's last gift to the Giants is Galladay's contract.
More like his last gift to the rest of the NFC East.
Yeah, the Giant fans and Gettleman, I know they didn't have a love affair with him, but and then Kadarius Toney's just hurt a lot. He's immensely talented. He can't stay on the field. Sterling Shepard come back from torn Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
Good for David Sills to finally make it in the NFL, to make a roster. He's been trying. From a former quarterback, was at West Virginia, became a receiver. But the big story,
Delaware high school standout.
Oh, that's right. Tell him that's
committed to USC when he was a sophomore in high school. Back when was Pete Carroll there at the time? I think no. I don't remember.
Was it
no? Who succeeded Pete Carroll at USC?
No, wasn't it I could see the guy's dad in my the former Bucs D coordinator, legendary. You talk Lane Kiffin?
It might have been. Kiffin. Yeah, it might have been when Lane Kiffin was there.
Monty Kiffin's son.
Yeah. But yeah. He was a former.
Wait,
Delaware.
What grade was it?
A quarterback.
Was it 10th grade? Did you say what grade was it?
Yeah, it was crazy. He committed to USC so early. It was unbelievable as a quarterback. Like he could have changed his commitment 5 times because he still was so young into his career. It might have even been freshman season in high school. It was something so crazy. And it was big news at the time. But yeah, he obviously is not a quarterback. I don't think he went to USC, right? He went somewhere else.
West Virginia. Yeah,
he went to West Virginia. Everything sort of changed, which is why it seemed like silly at the time. But
and what happened there with him is what happened under Dana Holgorsen and over the years at West Virginia. These guys don't know the route tree. Mm-hmm. That's why Kevin White and other former West Virginia receivers, Tavon Austin, so many of these receivers go there. And it wasn't just Holgorsen, was other coaches there. They just were not developed with the NFL route tree. Talking to coaches at this level who've evaluated West Virginia receivers, so many of them just never made it. And this kid worked his butt off. He was with Buffalo, their practice squad, the Giants, and on and off for the last 4 years. And good for him to make it. Who knows if he'll stay, because the Giants now have 4 receivers on the roster.
All right.
The big story for them is Wan'Dale Robinson, who was the second rounder out of Kentucky, who's smaller. He's only 5'8", and he's out of Kentucky. He's really explosive. He's the kind of guy, and for those of you who play fantasy, you definitely want to take before the end of your draft, because with Galladay and Toney and Shepard's injury history, he's probably going to play more than he normally would as a backup receiver. Mm-hmm. And they still have Darius Slayton, who's a deep threat. So the big issue for them is on offense. It's still the interior of their line. They're going to have they have 4 new starters in the entire offensive line. Only Andrew Thomas is back. He had ankle surgery earlier this year, but he's really good. You mentioned Evan Neal, who's the right tackle. Mark Lewinsky comes over from Indy. Mm-hmm. They had replaced him in the starting lineup last year. He's a grinder. He'll get him through the season. John Feliciano's back.
Yeah, sounds like it's a good run blocking line. I don't know how good pass pro they're going to be, but
Zaydu is their third rounder, who I know Greg Cosell likes. Out of North Carolina. Yep, who's a guard who will play left guard for them, who could play also right tackle. Mm-hmm. So they've got a lot. 4 changes, man, and they have a very good coach. Bobby Johnson was with Brian Daboll. He turned their line around. He's the guy who developed Ryan Neal, the kid from Penn State, your school.
Right. Ryan Neal?
Out of the blue. The Eagles didn't want it all. He just didn't do anything here, and it's amazing how he became a player there. In fact, he had 3 teams on him in free agency. Remember, he signed that offer sheet.
I don't remember. His name was Ryan Neal. I thought it was Bates that he.
Ryan Bates. I call
Ryan
him.
Bates.
Yeah. Ryan Bates. Yeah. Good call. Yeah, no, it's funny that this is Ryan Neal. Who was Ryan Neal? Oh, Ryan Neal was another former Eagle. Mm-hmm. Who is he still with Seattle? I think he is. He was like a safety corner.
I remember that name now.
Yeah, he is. He's still with. Yep, he is. He's still with the Seahawks. So Ryan Bates. Yeah, Ryan Bates was that guy. So right now, so when the Eagles play them, their D-line versus the Giant offensive line, there's a tremendous advantage. And Barkley had a good summer, good offseason. He's healthy. He's not rehabbing anything. Chris Myrick from Cheltenham High, my alma mater, is still there as a blocking tight end, who had that crazy touchdown he caught with his feet.
That one, the game-winning touchdown against the Eagles. Yes,
crazy. Yeah.
We actually were
And
joking. We saw him at the Maxwell Awards dinner, and we were giving him a little crap
oh
for
yeah, yeah,
that.
he's a good dude.
Yeah, he was a
Now,
good dude.
now, if you look at their defense, Wink Martindale comes in. They're still running a 34, but they should have the highest blitz percentage because that's what he did in Baltimore. They had the highest blitz percentage.
Right.
So you know what's coming. Now they're not great at corner. That's another team where it's Adoree Jackson who sort of revived his career last year. The Titans didn't want him, and Aaron Robinson now is a full-time starter. Darnay Holmes is their nickel, and Xavier McKinney was tremendous. We can't talk about him enough. A third-year safety, and Julian Love is okay out of Notre Dame. Thibodeau, we'll see how he does. He's coming off of an injury. Ojulari's back. I like their front. They'll be coached well. That will not be an easy defense to go against because coaches will have told me over the years with Wink Martindale, you don't quite know because he blitzes so much how he sees. He's all about defeating your protection. So they have to, as you go through the game, you see what he's trying to do. Where we think your weakness is in the offensive line, that's where he overloads. So the Giants will probably be. I know a lot of people think they'll have 4 or 5 wins. Vegas thinks they'll have 7.5. I think they're going to be at times very competitive because with Daboll and Kafka running that offense, with Daniel Jones, I know he's been a disappointment. I get it, but don't forget he's been through 4. He's had a different scheme pretty much every year.
Yeah.
Hopefully now he's got it settled a little bit.
What did you notice about him when you watched their practice? Did he look like he had good rhythm with some of his receivers?
Yeah, I would say that, he's a good downfield thrower. It's just the time sometimes could be off, but he actually has a really good arm, and we know he's athletic. He could run.
Yeah.
The problem is Tony was limited when I was there. Shepard was not working.
All right.
But the two guys who put on a show that day, Wan'Dale Robinson and their kick returner, Richie James, or punt returner, whatever he's going to be for them, who had that crazy game 2 years ago. Remember 180 yards?
He chose the Giants over the Eagles because he wanted more
that's
opportunity.
right. Yeah, that's right. We put that out there. Yeah. So Richie James had 180 plus yards, I think, against Green Bay on a Thursday night game when Ayuk was inactive because he was put on the COVID list. And he was catching left and right. And yeah, he's on there. They actually technically have 7 receivers, though. James probably won't play at all in receiver.
Right.
So they're a team that's in transition, new front office, new coaching staff, but I do believe they're going to be fun. So if you're a Giants fan watching, I think it'll be somewhat painful because they're brand new here with everything.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be better coached.
All right. Interesting stuff. Let's go to Washington, where expectations are bigger for them this year after last year. We know Chase Young is not going to be he's on PUP starting off the season, but they still have a bunch of first-round picks in that front 7. Carson Wentz, obviously. What did you learn, though, while you were there watching them about their expectations?
You know what's funny? I was talking to someone in their front office who said, the good thing is now this is well past the Jack Del Rio Twitter issue. So he got off Twitter. This is with the ownership stuff temporarily behind them. There was really no controversy. The controversy, if you want to call it that, was Wentz's inaccuracy in training camp sometimes.
Yeah.
So this person said, look, he claims that the media didn't quite get Carson Wentz right when they watched practice. But I could tell you from the practice I was at their stadium, it was a Wentzian practice. First half, horrendous with the accuracy. He's got that overstride where if you ever watch coaching tape, it's hard to see it on TV, but you can see it on the coaching tape. You saw this and when he really regressed starting in 19 and 20 was a disaster. His feet were so far spread apart. It was like 3 feet. And that's called an overstride, and it causes everything to sail on him.
Yep.
I'm telling you, Terry McLaurin could be wide open, right? 10 feet in front of him, sails way out of bounds. And you're like, how could you miss this route? Because watch the feet. It causes him to move and rotate his hips, and the ball sails. Then the second half of this practice, he was phenomenal. He hit a bomb, almost like a blind bomb to, of all people, what's Sony Michel's? Mark and Michelle.
Oh, Mark and Michelle.
It was a bomb, a beautiful pass, and he got his whole body into it. And it was just a great route by Michelle. and a great catch. And he made through dimes after dimes. I'm like, this is the problem with Wentz. You just don't know what you're getting because of the footwork. So that's something that has to be better. Taylor Heineke, who's a pretty good backup, your guy, and
My
Sam
guy.
Howell. Yeah, no, the couple of people said on Twitter you were bummed when they traded for Wentz. I'm like, were you high on Heineke?
I don't. I did. I pick. I think I picked Washington to win the division last year, but that's because.
Oh yeah, you did. Right,
Because
right,
of their
right.
defense,
Well,
not their offense.
Yeah, sure. And their defense took a powder for a half, but no, what it is, and this is where it's going to be fascinating when they face the Eagles, because if everybody's healthy, Jahan Dotson had a great training camp.
Now that's my guy. That's my guy. Yeah.
He's their move receiver. He's their Z. McLaurin, believe it or not, is an X. As I understand, he doesn't really like being moved around much. He likes staying on one side. Curtis Samuel, he had a great practice when I was there. If he's healthy, he missed almost all of last season due to groin surgery and an injury in the offseason. He's their main slot. So you've got three guys who could run. De'Ami Brown, who's really talented as a backup receiver.
Yep. And
Cam Sims is their jumbo receiver, so that they got a good five receivers there. And Logan Thomas did not start the season on PUP. He came off. He's going to play. Cole Turner's our slot tight end, who we were able to see at the Senior Bowl, who's really athletic. John Bates is back there again, who's more of an all-around tight end. So if they can block, now this is the problem. Andrew Norwell, who signed the biggest contract in NFL history years ago for a guard, he's there. He was with Ron Rivera in Carolina, of course. Trey Turner, who was once maybe one of the best guards in football, he's really not very good. He keeps getting cut or not re-signed, in this case with Pittsburgh. So this is where the Eagles D-line, Patrice Roulet is back from his injury at center. He's good. And Cosme's decent, and Charles Leno revived his career at left tackle, but this is a below-average offensive line. This is where the Eagles can feast when they play Wentz and put pressure on. Oh, by the way, Brian Robinson, unfortunately, hopefully he's going to be okay from the gunshot wounds. Antonio Gibson, who basically got benched because he's not instinctive at running back. That's his problem. So when you look at it all, they still have questions in the offensive line, running back, and obviously Wentz's inconsistency.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be a really good year for Dotson. I made sure to get him with my last pick in fantasy because I was hearing that his chemistry with Carson was probably the best among all the receivers in camp. So we'll see. And plus, he has that, like you said, with that move, the way Carson was able to connect with Nelson Aguilar in 17 and even in 18. I mean, he targeted him a lot, didn't catch everything, but I could see Jahan being a target monster in that offense.
He's going around 10 through 12 for those of you who still have drafts like me. Did you have your draft?
I did have my draft. Yeah. I got him later than that.
Okay.
Jahan Dotson, interestingly.
Is it a 12-teamer?
It was a 12-teamer, yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. This last one was a 10-team. I'm sorry, 10-team, but it was 18 rounds. I was picking players at the end there. I'm like, geez, I have three quarterbacks.
I'm in these. We have three. You can if you only have 10 teams. So same thing happened to me in these NFFC leagues, these high stakes leagues. So they're 20 rounds and they're 12 teams. You're running out of players to take. So you're definitely going to take two defenses.
Yep.
I took three quarterbacks because there's like nobody left. Like, okay, I'll add Watson to my roster. Hopefully I'll never have to use him after week 11, but that's what happens. And I hate taking two kickers, but it's like you're struggling for like, okay, what do I do here?
Right. I had, who was my quarterback? I can't remember. This is my PPR league. And I took Lamar Jackson late, not early, not like in the first 3 or 4 rounds. He fell. So I was like, all right, I'll gamble on
what
Lamar
round
Jackson.
Did he go on?
I think it was fifth
Really?
round. Yeah.
Okay.
And listen, I get it. He didn't play. He regressed a little. He got hurt. So I wanted to make sure I had a good backup. And I totally agree with your amigo, John Hansen. I find myself being an ageist now more than ever. Like if you're even a little bit old, I don't want anything to do with you. So I've got younger and younger. So I got Trevor Lawrence as my backup on upside, but like I said, we're getting around 14. I'm like, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is still on the. I got 2 question marks at quarterbacks theoretically. So why don't I just go with Aaron Rodgers here because I've still got 3 more rounds left. So
I mean,
I got him as my
got
third
an offer
QB.
in my dynasty league with John Hansen. He one of the guys made me. I don't need him. I have Dak and Cousins as my backup. I don't need him. Someone offered me Rodgers and the kid that the first round receiver for the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Treylon Burks.
Right, for my first round pick next year. I'm like, I'm not doing that. What do I need Rodgers for? I don't. Yeah, it's ridiculous. These trade offers, man, sometimes because people get on me for making bad trade offers.
Right.
At least look at your roster, what you need. I don't need look at my roster, man. What are you doing?
That's strange. Making moves for next year already.
Well, no, because in a dynasty league, you could trade.
Yeah, I get that.
It's actually cool.
Yeah.
But Washington's over under is 8.5 plus 145. The under is minus 8.5, 170. See, I think they're between 8 and 9. That's.
Do you think they have a better roster than the Giants?
They do because the defensive talent is really good.
Yeah, it is.
Even without Chase Young, but they still have Montez Sweat, Deron Payne on the finding of their deals.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Allen, who's terrific. Jamin Davis is the key for him is to improve. He was very raw last season and not ready. They threw him in there.
Right.
Cam Curl, Cosell's favorite guy. Corner, they're very good. Yeah, they could match up. They're going to be they're a team that's going to steal some games where you go, wow, I didn't see that happening, and they're going to have some wins or some losses where you go, wow, they underachieved because they're just going to be somewhere around that 500 level.
All right, cool. Let's go on. I know you had a little venture down south. You got to check out both the Panthers and although when you saw the Panthers, I think you were in Foxborough at the time. But
yes,
either way, you've seen the Panthers and the Bucs.
Yeah.
So let's go with the Panthers.
Yeah, and by the way, this is going to be. We'll see if I'm right. This is for over unders. This one I love. Let me see how
you love the over. I assume, or
yes, I do. Actually, hang on. Why does it say? I don't want exact wins.
I thought this was like 8.5, maybe. Maybe it was.
No, it was actually 6.5.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Why am I seeing exact? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Carolina. We'll talk about New England with them.
Mm-hmm.
So start with Carolina, and again, I think they have a real shot in the NFC to be a wild card. I don't see them winning the NFC South, but they're really deep at receiver. DJ Moore's a breakout candidate, no doubt. Robbie Anderson, who completely fell off last season, wasn't due to health. It was Sam Darnold's inaccuracy, which you saw when they played the Eagles. He was so off his game,
right?
It's stuck in the mud, and that's why he's no longer the quarterback. Baker Mayfield was really good against New England. Those 2 practices that I saw. Harris Marshall out of LSU is their 3. Chenault. Well, actually, when I say he's their 3, he is, but they'll have Chenault. They call him a power slot. He's very unique. He's not easy to call plays for because he only could play inside despite his, he's jacked up.
Yeah.
And Shi Smith had a very good training camp who was a 6-rounder last year. So and Hollywood Higgins is there. Rashard Higgins is there, who was close with Mayfield. So yeah, and Andre Roberts is their special teams returner. So they're good there. They have 4 new offensive linemen. And it's not always easy to get that done, but they feel talking to them, they feel really good about the changes. Iguanu, their first round pick, Brady Christensen, who's a jack of all trades, played 4 positions last year for them. So they love him. They think they stole him from BYU last year. Austin Corbett, who won a Super Bowl last year with the Rams, and Taylor Moton's back at right tackle. And Pat Elflein will probably be the center. Bozeman, I'm told, with the ankle will be ready, but Elflein's a little bit ahead of him. So that's a lot of changes. And obviously the big one is McCaffrey being healthy.
Yeah.
Just besieged with hamstring problems the last 2 years, particularly last season. Their season went down the tubes last year. They called it the House of Horrors game, and at Houston, they won on like a Thursday night. McCaffrey tore his hamstring. J.C. Horn broke his foot, and someone else got hurt that game. And they were like 3-1 or 3-2 at that time. They were never the same after that game.
There's something wrong with that field, isn't there? I feel like everybody always gets hurt at Houston. D'Amico Ryans would get hurt there twice.
Oh, did he tear his Achilles there?
I think twice that he got hurt there in Houston. Well, one when he played there, and then one when he played for the Eagles against them, I believe. Nick Foles got hurt there.
Did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the game when the Eagles started off 6-1 or 6-2, and then he took a shot and was out, and then that's what led to Mark Sanchez, I think, having to come in and play. That
I don't
year, I'd
remember.
have to go back.
But wait, was that when he got his concussion in Fort?
No, I
Or was
thought
this
it
his
was like broke his ribs or something like that. I'd have to
Okay.
go back and
Okay.
look. But
All
yeah,
right.
I feel like people get hurt, especially lower leg injuries in Houston, a ton.
Hmm.
Um, Arian Foster used to play there, right? He would get
Oh, he
hurt
was
all the
great.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then remember Dominic Davis?
Yep.
He was great for fantasy. Yeah. He's a guy that I think when you look at that Houston and that field,
Yeah.
yeah, he had knee problems. Wes Welker tore his ACL there, if you remember,
There you
in
go.
'09.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
Belichick
There
should.
must be something with that field, man. That's not
I don't
good.
know. It's weird. Well, obviously they've changed the turf since then, but yeah, that is kind
Yeah.
of weird. So Carolina is kind of reshaping their offense, and I love Foreman, the running back formerly of the Titans, who revived his career
Right.
as a power back, and So Matt Rule's another run game truther. He's been on the record. They want to run the football, which I get it. Mayfield, you don't want him throwing a lot anyway.
Yeah.
But Mayfield, they say, really picked up the West Coast offense from Ben McAdoo, and he's the thing that they love about McAdoo is that he's great at creating matchups where Joe Brady, who wound up getting fired in season last year, just could not do that. He couldn't free up Robbie Anderson in particular, and that's why he lost his job. He's now the quarterback's coach for the Bills. So their offense is going to be different. New quarterback, relatively a new offensive line. Now defensively, they're really good under Phil Snow, who's been with Rule everywhere.
Yeah, they got a lot of good players on defense.
They do. Ioannidis is new there. Gross-Matos is going to have to play a little bit more. The only thing they don't have, opposite Brian Burns is a great pass rusher, but Derek Brown, who's a first rounder in 2020,
Right.
They told me, this is interesting. C.J. Henderson, who was a first round miss by the Jaguars. Henderson, for whatever reason, it just didn't work for him. He was not very happy in Jacksonville. He knows there's some coach he knows on the Panther staff. So he had a phenomenal, maybe one of the best training camps and off seasons of any of their players on either side of the football. They think he is like all the way back because he was a height, weight, speed guy and never really lived up to that. He was more of a numbers guy than a tape guy in terms of performance. He was tremendous. So with Dante Jackson, who's really good, who got his contract extended, J.C. Horn, who's all the way back from his broken foot, Henderson, Jeremy Chin, who's a stud,
great safety, yeah.
And they're not going to play him much at linebacker. He was playing some linebacker last year. They're going to move him back.
Right.
Xavier Woods has been a star in this league with Minnesota and Dallas. And Miles Hartfield as their nickel. This is a really good secondary. This defense, Shaq Thompson's back. He's healthy. Corey Littleton's a good football player, inside linebacker. They're more of a 34 front.
Yeah.
This. You hear me talking about this. Why can't this be a team that pushes for a wild card?
I don't see why they can't, especially in the NFC. I think you're right. I mean, maybe depth might be an issue, but other than that, I mean, they've got great talent. We just mentioned really good talent on defense in the secondary, wide receiver, good talent with DJ Moore and Marshall and Anderson. That's pretty good. They added Chenault. No, I mean, the only thing with them has been their offensive line. Of course, they drafted Ike Ekwonu. He's their left tackle now, and then they signed Bozeman from Baltimore as a pretty good center. So they're definitely, as long as McCaffrey stays healthy, and to be honest with you, Hubbard did a nice job last year. Like, I think when Mayfield's your quarterback, you don't have to be as if Christian McCaffrey goes down, you're not completely screwed. I'm not that I'm saying Mayfield is great or so much better than Darnold, but I think Darnold clearly suffered without McCaffrey. I don't know if Mayfield can move around a little bit more. So I think he can avoid the pass rush a little more if need be.
Yeah, Baker's another guy you don't. I like the way what Stefanski did with him. He didn't ask him to throw a ball a ton. I think you got to know who everybody is. We talked about this with Hurts last year. This is where Sirianni made a very bad mistake by coming out and just throwing like crazy because he just thought he could run everything he could run. You know, he was a rookie head coach. I get it. He had to learn.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is you have to know who you have. Yeah, by the way, I love this over. The Panthers are over 6.5, -110, and under -110.
Oh, wow.
At 6.5. So
I would take the over on the Panthers there. Yeah.
I love that one. That's probably my favorite one. And I mean, sometimes, look, you're not always going to be right when you spend time with the team, but I really thought that they have an impressive roster comparatively. Because this is a great question. Someone asked me about when all the teams you visited, 15 of them, what were the rosters like? And it's funny, first time in doing this for 15, 16 years, that where most of the teams have good rosters, where sometimes you go like, well, of course I would visit the Raiders for years and they were terrible, but I didn't visit them this year, unfortunately. But I do believe the Panthers are going to make some noise in the NFC.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's speaking of a team that should make noise, except they're making noise for the wrong reasons lately, is the Buccaneers. I mean, obviously they started off camp pretty miserably. They had all the injuries on the interior offensive line. Then Tom Brady left in the middle of camp to go do whatever he had to do. Obviously they had a coaching change sort of abruptly there in the offseason from Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles.
That was weird.
Do you feel like there's just been it's been a bad offseason? Like, are you a little worried about their reign here, or do you think that at the end of the day they're still very talented and will be at the top there?
Well, okay, so let me dissect everything you said. So I happened to be there the day that Brady left camp. It was with the Dolphins for joint practices 3 weeks ago, and it was really odd because he practiced the first day, and then the next day, he left. And everyone's like, well, this is Brady. Brady's like the last guy who would do this. Oh, he must be having problems. He had the stuff off the field with, was he going to be traded to the Dolphins, be a part owner? Other teams, or whatever the case may be. And that was really weird. So we've seen every kind of story reported. And then there's this other story now that he and Giselle had a fight when they were whatever who the hell knows what's the truth. But all the turmoil, Bruce Arians' retirement and Brady coming back out of retirement after 6 weeks was bizarre to me. That was really weird, but here's the deal. I never will doubt Brady. I just won't. If anyone mentally could handle all the turmoil and all this stuff going on in his life, it would be he. And they're running the same offense under Byron Leftwich, who's going to be head coach someday. Fournette's back. They love Rashad White. Who he's not as technically his backup now, but he'll wind up being that at some point this season. Now you nailed it. The big issue is the interior of their offensive line. So they're going to have a brand new center, Robert Hainsey, who, talking to them, they think is tough and smart. But you know what? He's a third rounder. He's not very athletic. You do worry about more athletic interiors or deep lines going against him. Luke Kadecki's the second rounder, who'll be the left guard. They traded for Shaq Mason from the Patriots, but they have literally no depth at all right now of any consequence.
Right.
You're right. This would worry me. And Tom Brady's a guy not that quarterbacks don't struggle with this, but when the D line's at your feet, he can't move.
Right.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have a rocket arm that could handle, if you're close to him where you can't step into the football, he could still throw it. Worry about that. Chris Godwin's probably going to play this week, coming back from the ACL.
Good for him. What a great story that's been, his comeback. Yeah.
Now, how many snaps he can handle? Because over the years, talking to players who have an ACLs, you worry about the when you come back, your leg gets tired from the rehab. So you just, who knows how much he'll play. The kid, watch this one, Jalen Darden, if you're a Buck fan watching, number one. Super explosive the 2 days. He made play after play downfield. He's a small guy at 5'7". And the other story for them is the rebirth potentially of Julio Jones, who acted like he didn't want to play with the Titans. Boy, he was really good in training camp. So we'll see.
Wow, that could be a big addition for them.
Oh, yeah, exactly. If he can play.
Yeah. And then is Cameron Brate, is he going to have a breakout year? Because Brady loves his tight ends and there's no Gronk as we speak right now.
Could be. Well, Kyle Rudolph will be their wide tight end. He's a pass catcher only. They got the two drafted tight ends. So look, it's a spread offense. That's all. They don't run it much. They run it when they get up big and it makes it look more balanced, but they're really not. They come out throwing. Right. And Fournette, for all the negativity around him, he gets the job done. He puts numbers up. So, and they feel potentially their defense could be better than their Super Bowl defense. They are loaded. I don't see a weakness in Akeem Hicks.
What a great addition if he's healthy. He's such a good player.
He's healthy. Now, as you said, if he could stay healthy with Will Golson's a good run stopper. Vita Vea is terrific.
Yep.
Joe Tryon Shawinka Shoyanka. Yeah, that's how you say it.
Quit while you're behind. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah, that one's interesting. He added because of his father, he added the dash.
Right.
Devin White, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, who's a stud.
Yeah.
Their secondary is one of the best in the National Football League. The problem last year is they were hurt. They had 3 starters out for significant time.
Yep.
They brought Logan Ryan back. He redid his deal. Keanu Neal's back at safety. He's not playing linebacker anymore. Man, I would not want to go up against this secondary and this defense. For fantasy, by the way, I love him for fantasy, this defense.
Definitely. I'm a big Antoine Winfield fan. I thought, the Eagles should have maybe I forget who they took.
Oh, you loved him. Yeah.
I had that year in the second
Jr.
round, but I thought he should have been considered there, but was not.
Right.
All right. That's good. So, all right, Tampa Bay, we'll see. I mean, right now they just have to battle their own turmoil because talent-wise, they should be pretty good. You went out to the West Coast. You checked out the 49ers. You checked out the Rams. Let's start with the 49ers. You think they take a major, based on what you saw and heard from them, are you thinking they're going to take a step back, or are they, from a roster standpoint, even better than they've been?
Well, no, here's the interesting thing, and this will play to Jimmy G in a second.
Mm-hmm.
They really feel that, remember, they made the championship game, and they were a dropped interception from Jaquaski Tart from being in the Super Bowl. Literally, that was it. They would ice the clock, and had he not dropped it. Their roster is even better than last year, but the elephant in the room is the quarterback. And I was there, apparently, is typical of Trey Lance, so up and down with his accuracy. He has a high carriage point, and the ball comes out high with a lot of juice. He's got enormous arm strength. The problem is he's only started 3 games in 2 years. 2021 game because of COVID for North Dakota State. 2 last year. Now he revealed after in the spring that he had a bad finger. So that might have had something to do with when he didn't look right throwing the ball in those games last year. But I find it fascinating that they felt compelled to bring Garoppolo back because that was not their thinking to start training camp. But Nate Sudfeld did not do well. Nate Sudfeld now is the backup in Detroit, and they owed Nate Sudfeld $2 million fully guaranteed at signing, so they walked away from him, and they found a way. And when I was there, it was so bizarre. I've never seen this before. So they were practicing. Let's say you and I are right here, right? 10 feet to my right, Jimmy Garoppolo's throwing on the side and not allowed to practice because they wouldn't allow him to, because if he got hurt, there goes any chance to trade him, which was not realistic because it was contract. So he comes back making $6.5 million, and it tells you. Let's be honest about it. They have some questions with Trey Lance because you now have this. Think about this now. If Trey Lance is struggling, is Kyle Shanahan going to pull the plug? We're going to learn a lot.
That's a good point. Good question. Yeah. Well, I mean, he certainly has someone he can go to now.
Yeah.
So
guys, he's well above 500. Coaches love him.
Yeah.
He likes him. He does all the right things.
I think he's going to give. I mean, they'd have to be pretty bad, I would think, to go. Just sort of like the same thing we see with the Eagles. I mean, even if the Eagles get off to a rocky start, they're not pulling Jalen Hurts to put Minshew in at 3 and 4 or something like that. They would. Yeah. So I don't know. I still think Trey Lance is going to put up some pretty big numbers. So we'll see though what kind of quarterback he's going to be.
Like him in a 2 quarterback league for fantasy because his upside's big. Now they've got 3 changes in the interior of their offensive line. The 2 tackles are back, but that does concern me. So that's something, man. Again, these teams. Now Brandon Ayuk was phenomenal when I was there, and from everything I've been told, he got caught. He and Sermon had terrible training camps last year. Ayuk had no urgency going for the motions. They couldn't bench him, but Kyle and Ayuk had a heart-to-heart meeting during their bye week last year, and he was better after that. And he's back on schedule. He had a phenomenal training camp, got his urgency back and his energy. And then Jordan Mason's the real reason why Sermon's no longer there with the Niners, and Ty Davis Price is there with Jeff Wilson and Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell's always hurt. He's too small to be a lead back. He's explosive, great fit for that zone scheme, but he gets hurt a lot. So that's where that is. And then their defense is really, really gifted. The only question to me on defense is in the secondary, where they're very average at safety. Got one good corner, Mosley. The great story for them was Sam Womack, who's going to be their nickel,
Mm-hmm.
who's a 5th-round pick out of Toledo, who was just had a phenomenal training camp. He wins that. Shavarius Woods, their other starting corner. They're not great out there.
Right.
In fact, I remember when the Eagles played them last year, we thought they'd go after him. They did. Remember
They
the
did.
bombs?
They did. They got him, a couple of
Yeah.
times.
So that remains to be an issue, but they're phenomenal D-line, phenomenal linebacker. Fred Warner was one of the best linebackers in football. Greenlaw's underrated. So they're going to be good, but how good remains on the quarterback. And their over-under, by the way, is 9.5.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that. I just don't know. There's too much unknown there.
Yep.
All right. The Rams trying to defend Super Bowl champions. What did you learn out there?
Well, Van Jefferson, unfortunately, who's the third receiver, is not looking good. He had surgery 4 weeks ago. I'm told there was some cartilage damage repaired as well.
Okay.
So he hasn't practiced yet, and you don't practice, you don't play, considering when you haven't practiced in over 4 weeks. So the story for them, and I don't think he's related to Lawrence McCutcheon, a former great running back for the Rams, for those of you old timers out there. But Lance McCutcheon, this kid from Montana State, I for the life of me, I got to figure out why he was not drafted. He is 6'3", can run. I don't care what his college numbers were. I know he's out of Montana State.
So he's a running back?
No, running. No, he's a receiver.
Oh, okay.
Lawrence McCutcheon was a legendary Rams.
Yeah, I remember
back.
Lawrence McCutcheon. Yeah,
right. Growing up, yeah, in the 70s and the 80s, he was tremendous. But Lance McCutcheon's number 82 as a receiver. He led the NFL in receiving yards in preseason.
Okay.
He was phenomenal in training camp. How the hell is this guy not drafted?
Interesting.
But he was great. So he made it. They're keeping 7 receivers because of Van Jefferson's injury. And Brandon Powell will be the returner. Tutu Atwell, who's largely overdrafted, is too small.
Yeah.
But Ben Skoranek will be their third receiver until Van Jefferson's ready. So Allen Robinson, your guy from Penn State, look, he had a very good training camp.
No, that's good.
Yep.
Where are they like kind of lining him up in the offense?
So
most inside, outside?
He's doing both because Kupp's their main slot.
Right.
But you know they're the Rams run the most 11 personnel last season. So this impacts them against the Bills. Now Tre'Davious White's not playing in this game on tomorrow night. But they're gonna spread the Bills out anyway. They have to. But Tyler Higbee, I would not surprise me if he becomes a bigger factor early on. You know, he set an NFL record, Tyler Higbee, in 2019, most consecutive 100-yard plus games at tight end, 4 in a row.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it? Wow. In this day and age, you would think that Darren Waller. I know, but I feel like Darren Waller has 100 yards every week, and someone will break that soon. Kittle.
I'm sure.
It seems when he's healthy, he just can't play 4 straight games in a row.
Exactly.
But when he does, he seems to get 100 yards, or maybe
if he plays against the Eagles, he kills them. So Stafford and the red elbow injury. That the day I was there was the day they shut him down. He practiced for 15 minutes and they pulled him. He's got like tendonitis in it, and it flares up, but they said he's fine.
Okay.
And that's he took all his reps and he's ready to go. So Andrew Whitworth is retired. Joe Newbom's their left tackle. They don't have the most talented line, but they get away with it. Their defense is really good.
Yes.
Well coached by Raheem Morris, who's going to be head coach again. He was too young. He was in his early 30s when he was a head coach.
They still got their main style. They still, even though they don't have Von Miller anymore, they still have Aaron Donald and they have Jalen Ramsey.
Bobby Wagner's new.
Wagner, right? That was a good addition there. So they should be pretty good. They should be pretty good.
The only thing for them is when you spread them out, they're not real deep at corner, but they're well coached.
Right.
They'll be right there. I do wonder if Trey Lance could play at least average football. I do believe they could give the Rams a run for their money. And with the Cardinals without DeAndre Hopkins for 6 games, and their season went down the tubes when he was lost. Everything went down offensively for them. So Rams are still the favorite. Now the Rams right now, their over under totals. I figure it was 10.5. It is 10.5, minus 110 on the under and the over. You like over or under there?
What was the over under again?
Is 10.5.
For the Rams, man, that's such a high number. I'd probably go over. I mean, they should really win 11 games because they're that talented, but you just never know.
Yep. So that would be it for the NFC.
All right, we'll go to the AFC in a second. First, we want to remind our friends to check out PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience. Their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams for the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHL Sports Nation and on Twitter PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHL Sports Nation. Let's pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you hop out there to Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jeff sent you. You will get a great deal.
By the way, best time of our lifetime to sell your car. Not only do they buy cars, sell cars, but best time to buy a used car in our lifetime. The deals that you can get because the car shortage in this country, it's crazy. I mean, my cars, I've had 3 or 4 offers already to sell, and I'm not ready to do it. But man, I really should think about that. And again, and by the way, Sky delivers all across the country. They'll ship it to you if you're in LA, wherever you live. They do it every week, and then it is the dealership for the Eagles, man. Nakobe Dean, the latest of Eagles to get their car.
There you go. All right, so moving on to the AFC teams you saw, let's try to do a little rapid fire here with the AFC East, because I know you saw the Patriots, the Jets, and the Dolphins. This is, to me, outside of the Bills, it's a real race to see who's the second best team in this division and whether that team can even challenge the Bills. So after seeing all three, which one, did anyone jump out at you saying like, I kind of like where this team, I think they got something going?
Well, you mean, boy, Miami's roster, you were there with me. Miami's roster is really good.
Yeah, I think Miami can make a little noise.
Yeah, let me get to New England really quick here. So the big issue is obviously offensively, because Belichick, and I have a ton of respect for him. I rarely criticize the guy. This is the dumbest thing he's ever done, though. With Matt Patricia's the likely play caller, with assistance from Joe Judge. Joe Judge at least has coached receivers before.
Yeah.
And I know Belichick was involved in 2009 when Josh McDaniels went to be the Broncos head coach. Bill O'Brien was calling the plays that year, but Belichick and Brady had heavy input. I just, when you're trying to develop a young quarterback, Mac Jones, in a second year, why would you do this when you your pick of coaches who are not working with teams this year? It's just, I don't get it. But that the reporters are there every day. I've mentioned, I mean, I saw it when I was with them with the Panthers for 2 days. It was not pretty. Nelson Aguilar, who was sort of in Josh McDaniels' doghouse, he had a very good training camp, I'm told. So he's going to be a factor. They've got a couple O-line changes. Overall, the defense is very talented. The problem is offensively, you just don't know what you're get. I really question what Belichick's doing, but we're going to get our answer against the Dolphins this week.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yes, that's right. That's the opening game, Dolphins. But no, it's the same thing with like Brady a little bit. No matter how much turmoil or turnover or whatever's going on, you sort of give New England a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. Like they figure it out. And so I'm not ready to I look at them and I think there's really nothing that special about their team. But I can't sit here and say I'd be shocked if they were a playoff team, because, obviously they do it every year. Even with, they made the playoffs last year by the skin of their teeth, right? They were a playoff team. Yeah.
And they got
destroyed. Yeah. Sort of like the Eagles. They were that last team, and they really showed they didn't really belong there. Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be my one issue with New England. And then the Dolphins. They are very talented. You got a rookie head coach. They're keeping the same scheme defensively. Josh Boyer, who's running the New England scheme.
Right.
And it's so funny. I remember when Cosell said this before last year's draft. Jalen, the closest receiver in the NFL, or the closest receiver he's seen since Tyreek Hill was drafted, was Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
And what do the Dolphins do? Make Jalen Waddle a possession receiver under 10 yards per catch. How the hell does this happen?
I don't know. And very weird. Yeah. But there's certainly a lot of talent there, both on offense and defense. And their secondary, they got some D-line talent. We saw Jalen Phillips. He's he's becoming a pretty good player. So they can rush the passer, Agba. They can do some. They're good. They're a well-balanced team.
The issue for them is they're reshaped once again. Offensive line. They have a lot of changes. They've completely failed drafting and developing here. This is the former staff couldn't get anyone to stay where they should be. And they gave up on trying to make Austin Jackson a left tackle. They signed Teron Armstead, who's really good, but he's hurt a lot. Connor Williams comes over from Dallas, who'll be their center. Eichenberg will start. The right side's brand new. Gesicki's back at tight end, who's a flex tight end. He didn't block very well. And the big story is Tua. It's simple. He's a point guard playing quarterback. Doesn't throw the ball downfield very much.
Right.
He supposes that air yards will be good because there'll be a lot of. This is Kyle Shanahan and his offense and Mike McDaniel's running. But I don't know. This is the guy they try to get rid of. They try to get Brady. They try to look at. We know how badly they wanted Deshaun Watson. So we'll see how he handles it. But he had a good training camp. This is a timing-based offense. This will be good for him. So we'll see how it goes. But overall, it's how Tua goes. This team will go.
I agree. And then so the Jets, Adam, I'm fascinated for your opinion. I feel like when I look at their 53, I say, you know what? They've got enough talent where they should be competitive. They shouldn't have their doors blown off them week after week anymore. This team should start to take some positive steps forward. I like what some of their defensive talent. I like some of their playmaking talent at wide receiver. Obviously, the quarterback's a question mark, and the offensive line got dealt a blow with Becton. But what do you think?
No, you outline it well. See, they've got obviously Dwayne Brown comes in. He has a 1-year structure on his deal. It's a multi-year deal, but it's really a 1-year structure. They got a lot of newness. Garrett Wilson, first-round pick. Breece Hall, first-round pick.
Yeah.
2 new top tight ends in Uzama and Conklin, who are talented.
Yeah.
That'll help them when they go to 12 personnel. And then defensively, Carl Lawson, who missed all of last season, he's back, so he's new. Jermaine Johnson, he's new. Sauce Gardner, he's new.
Yeah.
DJ Reed, he's new at corner. You're right. They added so much new talent. Now it's all got to play together. They have the underrated John Franklin Myers, who's really talented on the defensive line. Quinn Williams, of course. But their schedule, man, is really difficult. Now they're over under 5.5. I do like over, but man, their schedule to start the season. Ravens will be tough. At Cleveland will be tough. Against the Bengals at home will be tough. They played them last year. At the Steelers versus the Dolphins, at Green Bay, at Denver.
Wow. I'm telling you, they're going to win a game in that stretch that people don't think they're going to win.
Yeah, because the talent. Oh, absolutely right.
I think, first of all, and this is just projection, but I have a feeling Gardner is going to be exactly what he's supposed to. I'm still shocked he was the second cornerback taken, that the Texans went with Stingley first. The Jets fell into the Jets' lap. I think he's going to be a superstar. And so when you put Lawson was a breakout player for them in camp last year until he got hurt. You got Lawson, you got Jermaine Johnson, you got Sauce Gardner, you got Quinnen Williams. That corner you mentioned was pretty decent. And
DJ Reed,
DJ Reed, and then the 3-name John Franklin Myers, was it? The D-line? Yeah, good underrated defensive lineman. They're gonna be all right. I think they're gonna beat some teams that people don't expect them to beat. They're probably gonna lose some games that you were hoping that they would win, but I just see them starting to emerge out of the doldrums.
Yeah, the Sheldon Rankins, Solomon Thomas, former first-round picks, Quan Alexander just signed. The schedule is murder, but they've got a much better roster. I know the big issue is Zach Wilson coming back from the meniscus surgery and bruised knee. He's doing pretty well. He's got a real chance to play a little earlier on. Actually, could play this week against Baltimore. We'll see what they do. So overall, it's a better roster. And Elijah Moore, who you mentioned, who's going to be a breakout player. They're going to be they may not be very good. The most they'll have is 7 wins. They'll be between 5 and 7.
Right.
But they're going to be fun doing it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And then some of those losses are going to be better losses than the past. They're not going to be losing 26-3 or anything like that. I think they're going to be some competitive in some of the games they wind up losing. All right, let's go to the NFC North. You checked out both Cleveland Browns. You were there for the joint practice against the Eagles. You've seen the Baltimore Ravens. I'm thinking bounce back year for the Ravens, man. What did you learn when you were out there?
Yep. Lamar was great to practice at the stadium when I was there. Boy, this Tyler Snoop Huntley is really good.
He is good.
He looked great in the preseason against Arizona. Great discovery for them. He's not as explosive as Lamar on the ground, but he's explosive enough, and he throws the ball really well. What a nice development he's been. The kid, number 80, Isaiah Likely, they will run the most 13 personnel, which is 3 tight ends. He's going to play a decent amount because Boyle only blocks. Mark Andrews is incredible. In fact, he and Bateman, Mark Andrews and Bateman are their 2 pass targets, and Devin Duvernay is a distant third. And Isaiah Likely is going to be involved. Yeah,
it's amazing.
He's talented, man. He had a great preseason training camp. And Dobbins is back from his ACL. I don't know how much he'll be able to play early on, and Mike Davis will grind it out if they need him to play. Kenyon Drake is there. Defense is talented. Now, Mike McDonald, who was the D coordinator for Michigan, is back. He used to be with the Ravens. So they parted ways with Wink Martindale. Now that we'll see. This is a storyline here.
Yep.
This is just, when you replace a legend like this is tough. But they got everybody back. Chuck Clark was not traded. They tried to move him, couldn't move him. So Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams, a would-be Eagle, should have been an Eagle, but he spurned the Eagles with a very similar offer. So they're back. They have a very good defense. So they're going to be better than last year. As you said, that they were beat up. And Lamar with the illnesses and injuries, and he's going to be better.
I just feel like last year was a crazy year for them.
Yeah. I agree with you.
They'll be back.
So that's the Ravens. Now the Browns. I mean, let's be honest about it. If you look at Cleveland, right? If you look at Cleveland, it comes down to the quarterback. Jacoby Brissett is very mechanical the way he throws it. He's got a very long release. I saw this for the 2 days. He's a high-end backup, low-end starter. If somehow they could be 5-6 by the time Watson comes back, they'll have a shot at a wild card. Obviously, they're not going to win the division, but very good offensive line. A little bit of an issue at center. They're down to their 3rd-string center with Ethan Posick.
Yeah,
the Seahawks.
Yep.
But they're not. They're going to be heavy 12. They'll probably run the most 12 personnel other than Baltimore.
Yeah,
some other teams.
Yeah, they're going to ground and pound for the 11 weeks, and then hope their defense can win them games. And when their defense is good, right? I mean, I like their defense. I think they have good.
I saw this. Yep, I saw this against the Eagles, though their top 2 corners didn't practice. They with Garrett, Clowney, excellent linebacker, very well coached. This is another team that's really well coached. You kind of know what's going to be. You hate to say hide the quarterback, but this is what it is.
Yeah,
it's a hide the quarterback offense. You're not even. They did this smartly with Mayfield. You didn't want to ask him to throw the ball a lot. Don't put it all on him. With Brissett, you don't want him throwing a lot. They just they claim Kalaman off waivers, who the Eagles had interest in, but it is look. It's the same offense, but they are really talented. It's a low octane offense, and it's too bad they don't have a better backup than Brissett. They're going to learn that the hard way.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to lose some 14-10 games, 17-13 style games. They're going to be in them, but just not have enough offensive firepower at the end to pull it off. All right, last 2 teams you've seen: the Jacksonville Jaguars reacquainting with your good buddy Doug Peterson, and you went out to the West Coast and you saw also the Chargers. Man, you saw 3 California teams. Well, the Raiders aren't a California team. Well, you didn't see the Raiders.
Yes, I know.
So you saw the Chargers, the Rams, and you saw the Niners. So you saw the 3 California teams.
Yep. No, but with the Raiders, it sucks that they're not Napa anymore. But
right.
So
we'll save the Chargers for last because there's a lot to say about them. But go ahead, Jacksonville.
Yeah, with the Jaguars, they're in a complete rebuild. I would say not only are they glad Urban Meyer's not the head coach, there probably was a little bit of residual effect in terms of what Urban Meyer did that organization, how negative he was, and how he's hated. It was bad. It's really bad. I mean, it was bad. Now they've revamped the receiver core with Christian Kirk, Zay Jones.
Yep.
The one issue they have is on their offensive line at right tackle. It's very questionable. Juwan Taylor and Luke Fortner is a rookie they like at center. But Ben Barch is probably going to be their left guard. It's not a great offensive line. It's underachieved for years, and they kind of blew it up a little bit. Brandon Sheriff obviously is terrific. Right guard. His thing is injury. But the big thing, what they're going to do is Doug's going to run the same offense he did before Goddard was drafted in Philly. It's going to be heavy 11 personnel. It's going to be a spread. Evan Ingram's your slot tight end. ETN will be a spread running back. It's perfect for what Doug wants. James Robinson was not in shape when I was there. He's going to be ready for week 1. He'll play. I don't know how much. So ETN is a guy that has got a chance to be a breakout player. And, defensively, Mike Caldwell, another former Eagle, is calling the plays. They're going to run a 34 front. They have some talent. They're mostly very young. That's the thing with them. They're very young, and they're running a different defense now. So to me, they're what is their over under? It shouldn't be any more than 5.5. Is it?
I thought it was
6.5,
about. I thought it was 6.5 actually. Yeah.
I love the under. Love the under there.
Wow, really? Okay, so you still think they're coming along there, even though they added about 502 players in free agency.
I know, but it's a turnaround program. You can't. But see, you can't expect it all to come together in 1 year. So I like under 6.5, which is minus 135. The plus the overs plus 115, and then.
Do you like ETN as a fantasy player?
Love
like
him as a second running back. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I got him as an RB too.
Yeah, in a PPR league, yes. And Christian Kirk, I love, but he's got a big injury history. He's a smaller guy, but he's much smaller in person. He's somewhere around 5'10", 5'10", 10.5, but he's got a small frame. So that would be them. You want to go to the Chargers to round this off?
Yeah, let's go to the Chargers now.
So they're going to be good. They're one of my breakout teams, so I'm not totally sold on Brandon Staley as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, gosh, I can't believe they're over unders 10. I guess Las Vegas is wise to it. Damn, I thought it'd be a 9.5.
No, I thought it would be 10.5. Actually, I thought that they were going to be
make the playoffs last year.
I know, but they're getting so much Super Bowl hype.
Yeah. So I would. They have one issue at right tackle. It's the same as last year with Storm Norton, my favorite name. Trey Pipkins, who are the and they got Zion Johnson who'll play right guard from Boston College, and they're good. Josh Palmer. The only problem with they're not a heavy 11 personnel team. I know some people like them for fantasy. The problem is unless someone gets hurt, Mike Williams, namely, Palmer's not going to play a ton. But man, he's the kind of guy who's. What I love about him is forget about the 4.52 40. He plays into the mid 4.4s. He is really gifted. He's the guy from Alabama who the coaches would tell me he ran away from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Tennessee. Excuse me, same
Tennessee. Right.
But he beat the Alabama corners he ran away from. He ran right by them. Super strong physically. He's a guy that you want to take late in your draft and stash and see who gets hurt. And the other question is for Eckler, can he keep up that unbelievable pace of touchdowns because he's so small?
Yeah, I mean, he had 20 last year. I don't think that's sustainable.
Crazy.
But he still could be a good fantasy player or even good productive player without putting up 20 touchdowns. But I looked at that and I thought that seems like the James Conner thing too, like unsustainable.
Exactly. Could keep
number of
came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. So defensively, they completely reshaped it. They're going to have 5 new starters.
Yeah.
So what I was explained to me was Brandon Staley, who calls their defense, he wanted to get bigger size. He thought they were too small. Kaiser White moves on to a smaller linebacker.
Right.
Murray was hurt, missed most of training camp. He's back now. There's been sort of a disappointment to this point. Let's call it like it is, but he's very talented. Morgan Fox is new. Sebastian Joseph Day is new. Austin Johnson's new. Khalil Mack is new. J.C. Jackson is new. Bryce Callahan is new.
I like how you threw Khalil Mack in there, just like with Austin, like Morgan Fox and Austin Johnson. Yeah. Khalil Mack's new.
Khalil Mack, who they got in the trade, boys, he's been a disappointment the last couple of years because he's been hurt.
Yeah.
Missed a lot of practice time talking to Bears. He missed a lot of practice time the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Man, where's that time gone now? He is now 31 years old.
Yeah. I don't know. You put him and Bosa on the same line, though.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa. Yeah. And I'm scared if I'm a quarterback.
Well, very scared. Mike Davis, J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel, Bryce Callahan, Derwin James.
Yep.
So you look at that defense with the guys you mentioned and the new players, and Kyle Van Noy, by the way, is a good backup.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a good fantasy defense. Now, if you're keeping 2, it might be worth a flyer as a number 2 defense. So, yeah, I get it. A lot of changes. The expectations are there. And boy, they lost the last game of the regular season last year, the Sunday night game, to the Raiders.
Right.
Where they would have been in. So yeah, 10's a lot, man. That's
wow. I think they're built for it. They're good.
Do you think that would you take the over or the under?
Well, the only thing is that might deter them is that they're playing in a division with Kansas City, who's obviously still going to be good, and I think the Raiders have added, and they themselves are a good team. They just missed the playoffs last year. And who's the fourth team that I'm missing?
Well, they got
the
in.
Broncos.
The Raiders got in.
The Broncos have Russell Wilson
Yep.
and they've also retooled. So I mean, it's a very competitive division. But I think their defense is with Derwin James, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and then the cornerback that they signed. What's his name again? I can't think of.
J.C. Jackson.
J.C. Jackson. That's pretty solid right there. And then the fact that they've got Justin Herbert, one of the best upcoming young quarterbacks.
Right.
And we'll see. Maybe they'll change philosophically, offensively. I don't know why you would play 2 tight ends when you have 3 receivers like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Josh Palmer. Maybe they'll open it up a little bit now that it's year 3 for Justin Herbert and he showed he can do it. So but that alone with Austin Eckler and Davis, that's a good, well-rounded team right there. I mean, that's a team that doesn't have a whole lot of flaws, I think. But
yeah, the Joe Lombardi offense that he's running the New Orleans scheme, and in New Orleans they run a lot of 12.
They do.
Because they like formation variation and so forth. So he did a great job last year. He got fired by the Lions in season in his first year.
Right.
He's rebounded really nicely. He's done a great job. So they'll be good. They're kind of like the Texas Rangers of the NFL. Nobody knows anything about them. They're like the team that time lost. They're like kind of like on an island.
Yes.
Fun training camp, but that's it. Yeah, that's
all right. Well, that was good stuff. That was about a dozen teams we just went.
But we didn't bore you, folks. We just want to, because this is a hump day. This is a Wednesday, because we're not coming off a game. So if you do fantasy or do over-unders, I wanted to make sure we talk about that.
Yeah, that was great stuff. So our next podcast will be the preview of the Eagles versus the Lions, and we'll have it all broken down. We'll get some sources to intel us on what teams are doing. And then on Sunday, we'll have our pregame show. Really looking forward to the start of the season. Of course, Thursday night, that big game you mentioned between the Chargers and the Bills and who?
Rams.
Yeah, Rams and Bills. That's what I meant, not Chargers. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to our producer, Tyler Strasser. He does an excellent job. And of course, as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.